Welcome into the Tottenham Depot. I am your host, Andrew. You can follow me at Astetka. You can follow us at Tottenham Depot. This is episode 288. It is June 8th as we record, and I am joined by my good friend Todd. He is at TC_Kasho. TC, what's up, my friend?
What's up, brother? Any day the Tottenham Hotspur don't lose a game because they didn't play one is a good fucking day.
Absolutely, it is. This is kind of going to mark the official start of a new season for us as a pod. We don't really record our pods via season by season. This, like I said at the top, this is episode 288, but we are kind of shifting gears here on this pod today and moving forward, looking ahead. What happened, and obviously we'll never live that one down. That was one hell of a season. But I want to gear us toward looking forward. And in that vein today, we are going to go through pretty much every player on Tottenham Hotspur's squad and decide what the hell this club should do with them. We're going to do the traditional keep, loan, sell type of
job for him.
Exactly. We're going to do that today. Before we get into that, just a few little bits and pieces, some news and notes. First, want to just shout out Christian Eriksen. My goodness. Collapsed on the pitch once again on Sunday as Denmark was playing a friendly against Ukraine. The match was then abandoned. It was right around the 65th minute. The former Spurs midfielder's life was once again saved, this time by the pacemaker that was obviously put in place after a similar incident back in 2021 at Euros. This was heart-wrenching, I guess is the only other way to put it.
No pun intended.
Yeah, not at all. He did post on Instagram earlier today, said, I want to let everyone know that I'm doing well, that I'm home with family. He goes through kind of the shock of, having this happen once again to him, but says that he's feeling good and recovery has already begun. He's grateful for the support and grateful for all the assistance of the medical teams. He says his focus is now on recovering, spending time with family, going on vacation, and playing football with his children, which it absolutely should be. Denmark obviously not in the World Cup, so no competition for him to be missing here. But this was just really, really. I'll give you a peek into my life here. On Sunday, I got home from a little morning out with the wife. We had gone to hit some golf balls and went and got some breakfast on Sunday morning. I came home. I was ready to flip on I was watching the U.S. Women's Open from Riviera Country Club this weekend, was poking around at some different stuff, and I saw, there's a Denmark-Ukraine friendly on here. Let me flip it on. And just as I flipped the match on, I saw all the players gathering kind of in what looked like a large circle, and I saw match abandoned across the screen, and I immediately kind of went, wait a second, what's going on here? Got online and saw the worst possible news was that Christian Eriksen had once again collapsed, and my heart just fell into my gut. I was devastated. I thought something seriously wrong had happened. Obviously, the news is a little bit better than that because of all the precautions that had been taken because of the prior incident. How did you learn of this news? What was your reaction to it, my friend?
Yeah, in a similar capacity, I saw it online like within moments after it happened. For those, long-standing listeners to this podcast, they know that outside of Robbie Keane, Christian Eriksen is my favorite Tottenham Hotspur player ever. Family's Danish. He's my little Danish maestro. My kids cried the day that he moved to Inter Milan. My kids cried during the Euros when he collapsed. We were watching live. And we thought he had passed away on the field. Because, I have scenes of Hank Gathers and D. Brown in my mind.
Yeah. And I think for all intents and purposes, he kind of did. Like, his heart stopped. Like, that is 100%. What happened.
Mm-hmm. For like multiple moments. And so it's a miracle that he's back. It's a miracle that he came back and played football, especially football, Premier League football, won a trophy or two since he came back. And, so my thing about Christian Eriksen is that I'll always remember him for who he was, and like nothing that has happened since then, since the 3-1 thrashing of Real Madrid at Wembley when we were displaced, yet balling in the Champions League, will be my lasting image of him. However, we're to the point in time in Christian Eriksen's career where it would not shock me if he decides that maybe it's about that time to spend a lot more time playing football with the kids. So We'll see.
Yeah,
best of
I,
luck to him, and thoughts and prayers, obviously. Thoughts and prayers for those playing at home to him and his family.
far be it from me to tell a man what he should do with his life, but I would be surprised if there was any other result from this. And now, knowing Christian Eriksen, he's probably going to want to continue to play football. Probably thinks he's got a lot of football left. But I
Well,
totally agree with you. I just, it's this can't keep happening and expecting the same result. It gets a little scary at that point.
well, I mean, it's 5 years on, right? And what he said is it didn't have anything to do with the thing that happened before. It had to do with something else. But
Right.
I mean, I don't know how accurate that is. He's still under contract at Wolfsburg,
Right.
and but at 34, here's the thing: at 34, Christian's probably looking at this going, I've got 2 more years of top flight football in the top 5 leagues in Europe,
Yeah.
right? So it wouldn't surprise me. He's a Danish legend.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me if he ends up in the Denmark setup at some point in time. I don't necessarily know as a coach that's not his personality, but maybe as a front office, type of facilitator. Um, Loves his country, loves his family even more, but most of all, I think he loves football. So it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up coming back and honoring the rest of that contract.
In other news this week, we got reports, and I emphasize the word reports all the time during transfer season. I'm going to do it again here, even
It's
though
your favorite word.
this is not transfer related. But reports this week indicated that our old friend Daniel Levy may be stepping completely out of the Tottenham Hotspur business. There was a report that
Not completely.
There was a report that 8 Sports Capital, which is the group led by the American Brooklyn Eric, had bought the nearly 25% stake that Levy still owns in ENIC. But apparently today, in a story written by Ali Gold over at football.london, the Tottenham Hotspur board and executive team say they are not aware of any such purchase, and that business is going on as usual. So maybe the whole thing was just made up. I know that Brooklyn Eric is not quite the most reliable figure out there in terms of
Well, I mean,
trustworthiness.
I'd like to call your attention to the lack of reliability in so-called reports. Uh,
Yes,
let's
that
just
as
put it.
well.
We'll go ahead and leave it there.
Yeah.
Listen, it
Well,
boils down like this. What I heard is essentially it would leave Daniel Levy with approximately 4.89% of Tottenham Hotspur left. Essentially, what that's doing is it's maintaining control for the Lewis family. So,
yeah.
because if you have X amount of rights, you have, or X amount of percentage of ownership, you have certain rights, and they didn't want to give up that control to Brooklyn Eric, basically.
Yeah.
Not a
Again,
fan of
the,
his beats, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
the saga of Tottenham Hotspur ownership will continue to turn, and we will continue to just be the caught up in the wake of it. I mean, that's kind of what it is, as fans. That's the way that it goes.
It's Tottenham. Tottenham sells papers on a slow news day, bro. Like we're a week out or whatever. When that came out from the World Cup, you can't. There's no official window open. They're just trying to put Tottenham in a headline. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't
Well,
surprise me. Again, dude, it wouldn't surprise me if this comes to the fore later on down the line, and it's another PR fucking nightmare out of the club.
oh yeah, it continues to sound like more and more like a dented can just getting kicked down the road, and it's going to continue to get more and more dented until it gets picked up and placed in the recycling bin. Like
I
that's
just want to
the way
know
it goes.
what part Matt Law played in this reporting. Anyhow, go ahead.
That I cannot answer for you. You
Uh,
mentioned it. Despite no window being open, Spurs did officially confirm their signing of Andy Robertson this past week. The 32-year-old will become the 10th Spurs player represented at this year's World Cup. Of course, he is a Scottish captain. There's also reporting out there that the deal for Marco Senesi is done, but it just has not
mhm.
yet been announced by the club. So a couple of check marks in the box there, or I guess we can get a check and a half there. Robertson done, Senesi apparently on the way. There's also just like I'm going to throw some rumors at you. I just want
Do it.
reaction from you. Spurs are reportedly still working on this deal for Brighton's Jean-Paul Van Heck, center back, 25 years old. He's also reportedly come to terms with Spurs on personal terms.
Mhm.
It's really just now up to Tottenham to meet what Brighton is asking for him. They continue to increase the transfer offer, and it's not quite there yet. So one of those that can be worked out.
Yeah, no, it'll get there. So on those three specifically, we'll do them. We'll do them front to back. So Andy Robertson is the clutch veteran signing that every great team needs. He literally has won everything you could possibly win. Father was a Tottenham fan. He grew up cheering on the Lily White. I couldn't ask for anything more from a guy who's clearly class, knows how to win, knows how to be a solid figure in a locker room. Obviously, he's the captain of Scotland. Um, but also recognizes the value of signing a contract with a team that's only playing once a week.
Yeah, that's not
And
you're not wrong about that. If you're 32, I mean,
realistically, I love the idea of a part-time Andy Robertson Udogie platoon at that position. I think that is perfect for Spurs. We also heard that so that's Andy Robertson. I don't think there's nothing about that signing that I hate. It's not like he's 36. He's 32. I still think you've got 90% of his prime left for about 3 to 4 years, which I think is what the contract is. So I'm totally good with that. The second one, Marco Senesi. We talked about him on the last pod and like his line breaking passing ability, and the fact that he had more through balls than the entire team of Tottenham Hotspur last year. Actually, oddly enough, and this is a complete non sequitur, but it happened, so I'm going to share it. I went to my local, Mexican food place around here in San Marcos. Shout out to Lourdes, best breakfast burrito you could ask for, and was picking up my order and happened to see a guy wearing a Bournemouth jersey, Arroyo or whatever. I don't know how to properly say the gentleman's last name, but 22. I think he's like a right back or something. Anyhow, I happened to notice it, and I was like, that's a Bournemouth jersey. Well, I come out from getting my burrito, and I walk up to him, and I'm like, hey, man, are you a Bournemouth fan? And he goes, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, okay, give it to me straight. Tell me about Senesi. And he was like, man, this guy is class. Like, I was really sad when he left. Like, this guy is world class. I'm telling you, it's a matter of time before that guy breaks in the Argentina squad. And I was like, okay, I like where your head's at. Um, um, Lissandro Martinez is a bitch anyway, so I'm totally fine with that. The second thing that I would say is I also selfishly I asked him about Alex Scott, and he goes, that guy's class and should have been called up by England. Just saying. So shout out to Alex Scott as well, Tottenham Hotspur fan. Um, and hopefully Tottenham Hotspur signing towards the latter half of this window. But the Senesi deal, I think, unlocks everything for us. I think it softens the blow of losing the line breaking passing of Christian Romero, who we both assume will find his way out the
let's
back door of the club.
well, let's not read ahead too far, but go on.
But anyhow, it also kind of alleviates a little bit of the pressure when it comes to the Vuskovic situation as well, because it's like if Bayern or Barca or somebody comes in for like, here's 70 million for Vuskovic right now. I'm probably going to take that money and go buy a striker. To be fair, I could pay Victor Osimhen with that money. Anyway, just saying. The third one is Van Heck, and I think that the Van Heck piece is so critical for three reasons. Number one, the Mickey value. You can push Mickey out with Van Heck, or you can keep Mickey in with Van Heck, and it's going to be seamless. They both wear the orange for the Netherlands. My pick to win the whole thing this year. Put it on record. Call it what it is. Less now without Javi, but I'm telling you, I think that there's something special happening in orange this year. The next thing that I'll tell you is that he profiles so similarly to Romero in terms of the way that he is aggressive. He's going to take the step as opposed to wait for you to come to him. He's not the quickest, but he wins with his brain before he wins with his feet. And then the third reason that I'll tell you why it's such a critical signing is because of the relationship that he has with Roberto De Zerbi. He's literally quoted as saying, Roberto De Zerbi changed my life as a footballer and as a man. And when you look at the quotes like that, you go, well, okay, how could you not want one of Deserby's guys who's already got a partnership with Mickey in this squad? So I look at that as such a critical piece. And then really at that point in time, whether we bring Vuskovic, whether we loan Vuskovic, whether we sell Vuskovic, or whether we loan Romero, sell Romero, I don't really care, because between everybody that we've talked about so far, plus Kevin Danso, I'm good.
Yeah, it feels like the center back stable is getting filled pretty early. It is and it doesn't even feel like all of the outgoings are in place either. Speaking of the outgoings, I will just mention the other couple of rumors here. It looks like Radu Dragusin is indeed going to leave. He's out of contract anyway, but is being targeted by our old friend Fabio Paratici at Fiorentina. C'est la vie. And Alejo Veliz is also apparently on the way out, set to finalize the transfer deal to head back to Argentina permanently. The dollar amount lost, the pound amount lost, the euro amount lost, however you want to phrase it, the cash lost on the Alejo Veliz transfer. It's not my money, but damn, that
No,
was
get
one.
out of here with that, dude. We took a shot at a prospect and we kicked it down the lane. It wasn't like we spent 72 million pounds on Nicolas Pepe or something like that. This wasn't a Tanguy and Ndombele situation. This was, we took a punt on a striker that was 17 years old, and he didn't remember that he had to play football with his feet, not just with his head. So
Yeah, and are
shout out
punting
to
him
that
back
guy.
5 years later. So
Shout out to that guy. Thanks for the time. Sometimes your prospects don't work out. You're a Baltimore Orioles fan. How many number one overall draft picks actually make it to the show? So I mean, this
we
is what
don't
I'm talking about. You're going
we
to
don't
take
want
a
to talk
punt.
about that. That was
Exactly.
a shot, by the way. That was quite the
I'm a
shot.
Pittsburgh Pirates fan, brother. Come on, they make it to the show and then we sell them to the Yankees. Anyhow, like I look at it, I look at a situation like this. The Radu Dragusin deal was kind of, everybody got screwed in this deal. So I want to call it out what it is.
Not
First
his
and
agent.
foremost, his agent made all the money, bro. First and foremost, Radu Dragusin is a stalwart in the Romanian national team. And he does a very, very, very good job of playing center back with his feet on the 6-yard box and being able to make a nice, easy pass to a ball playing center back who can get it the fuck out of there. The problem is for the majority of the time that Radu Dragusin was a Tottenham Hotspur player, we were asking him to track back, to handle the ball in space, to break a press. And these are not things that Radu Dragusin is good at or equipped to do, especially not at the Premier League level. I think, though this may look like a step backwards for him, I think it's ultimately going to be a step forwards in his career, because I feel like consistent playing time at Fiorentina will help him get the confidence back after a shitty stint at Spurs in the Prem, and the injury and all of the other aspects of this. I think ultimately he's one of those guys that we're going to have a conversation about him in 4 or 5 years. He's going to be in a Champions League semifinal for Inter or somebody like that, going, yeah, Radu Dragusin is definitely improved leaps and bounds, blah 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 blah. That's
And
the
you know
way that
what's
I view it.
incredible? He's 24. Like, it's not like
That's
we're
what I'm
talking about a
saying.
29-year-old. Yeah,
No, and he's a
still
center
got plenty
back.
of time.
So I'm over here going, if we want to sell him back to Fabio Paratici, who was the one who wanted him anyway because he was a prospect from Italy, originally at Juventus and then went to Genoa, I want to say, or somebody along those lines. It wasn't Genoa, but it was like Calegri or something. It was some shitty team, I don't know. And then came to us. So like, he was somebody at the time was viewed as a really good deal because like Bayern really wanted him, and there was a couple of other offers Chelsea was sniffing around, but ultimately it didn't work out. And yet again, this is one of those things, is that we have been conditioned as Spurs fans to malign every player incoming and outgoing because it's been such a teeth pull. When you look at it, Chelsea rotates the squad every 2 fucking seasons, and so do the great teams like Manchester City and Juventus and PSG. Like, they're always rotating in new talent. So, and rotating, and more importantly, they're showing the door to players that couldn't quite cut it in their system. So,
well, let me give you another one.
Let
me give you another one to grind your teeth about. There's rumors that Spurs are back in on Savinho after failing to come to terms with City back in January. Mm-hmm. And like you said, City rotate their team. This is a player that might pop, might not, but he, I know that if Spurs sign him, he's going to be maligned. Like it's going to be a maligned signing if they, even by our
Right.
own fans. I've already seen some of that even.
Right.
But is this a player that you would want to have come in?
Fuck yes. You have to be a specific type of player to be successful for Pep Guardiola. You have to play the role that his system requires your position to play. And if you can't, or if it's not your preference, you're going to find your way out the door. His Genoa season, I'm sorry, Girona season, incredible. His first season at City when we tried to get him last year, amazing. He just didn't have as much of an impact this year, and the reason why is because he wasn't put in opportunities to have a significant impact because all of those minutes went to Ryan Shariki, which they bought last summer anyway, and the guy's on the fucking player of the year nominee list because he's a baller. So it's just another like a gluttony of embarrassing riches over there at Manchester City, and I'm happy to take their scraps in this scenario. The other one that I would love to get from City is Omar Marmoush, but that's a different conversation. As we're having a discussion about, and the reason why is the point I'm about to make. I really love what Savinho does for our offense in terms of setting the table. He makes the decision and plays the through ball that Tell got himself into position to play, but didn't have the ability or the decision making, or capacity to do so effectively. Now, the issue that I have is that he's still going to be passing the ball to fucking Richarlison and Solanke.
Well,
And so
maybe.
my biggest issue is as much as we need a left wing, a true left wing, what we really need is a proper what we also need is a proper number 9, and that's who we should be targeting next. If there's one signing, like these are 40 to 60 million pound signings is what we're looking at, save Andy Robertson, for all of these guys. Is right in that range, right? They're fairly friendly deals. They're not bargain basement players, but these are on sale players, right? There's a red sticker on these motherfuckers, right?
Right.
We need to pay full price for a top tier finisher. And this is what I've been getting onto this entire time. And we're going to come on to it. But that's the missing piece. So as much as I love the Savinho of it all, he needs to be able to pass to somebody who's actually going to find the back of a net with his feet consistently. And what we've learned about the two strikers that we have is that Richarlison can't hit the broadside of the barn unless it's on the volley or it's with his head. And as good as Dominic Solanke's hold up play is, his arrival in the box is equally terrible.
Yeah.
Save one scorpion kick that was incredible and does
That
not
was
get enough
incredible.
run as goal of the season, by the way.
That's actually a very good point. Because until you said scorpion kick, I had kind of forgotten he did that. So your point is well taken. I do want to put some red stickers on some players here shortly before we get into the nuts and bolts of this roster. I will just mention there are two prominent rumors out there regarding Spurs women. They are being linked with Aston Villa winger Kirsty Hansen, as well as Arsenal midfielder Victoria Pelova. People are going to hear that and think, wait, Spurs are going to sign an Arsenal player? That is way more common in the women's game than it is in the men's game for players to go between arch rivalries. It happens all the time. I mean, there are multiple players who have played for both City and United, players that have played for, Chelsea and Arsenal. Like, it happens all the time. So that would not surprise me. And
should we sign Beth England from Chelsea? Did we not?
Exactly. And anything that Spurs are trying to do to improve this roster, I am on board with. That's all I'll say. And again, I don't want to get too deep into those because those are just rumors at this point. And as I always say, until they're holding up the shirt, I don't want to go too deep. Go ahead.
They're just reports.
Yes.
What I will say is there is a very strong, if not completely validated rumor out there that Spurs have signed or have offered a 1-year extension to one Ben Davies, and he has accepted.
So he is on the list, and we will get to that. I want to do this list by position, and I want to start from the back and move forward. So let's start with goalkeepers. There are 3 to talk about. We all know the names: Brandon Austin, Antonin Kinski, Guglielmo Vicario. All 3 of these players are signed at least through next season. Vicario is in fact signed through 2028. The other 2 signed through 2029. What does this goalkeeping room look for you going into next season?
That's such a good question. First and
I know.
foremost,
I actually think
first
that
and
this
foremost,
part of the pitch is actually very difficult to deal with right now. I think it's a very awkward position.
first and foremost, arrivederci to one Guglielmo Vicario. Thank you very much for the efforts in our Europa League winning season. We greatly appreciate your time. Um, please kick fucking rocks. Um,
So hold on a second, because this is actually the perfect place to start. You're saying goodbye to Vicario, and I
yep.
don't disagree with you. I won't provide you much pushback, because if it were my decision, I also think that that's where I'm leaning. I don't know 100% sure that that's where the club is leaning, even though there
I
are
do.
a lot of rumors about you do. You think that he's as good as gone.
He doesn't play the football that Roberto De Zerbi plays.
And so
Like, if
with
we played
that in
modern football,
mind,
he's not a modern keeper. He's not a
okay,
modern keeper.
so with that in mind,
Mm-hmm.
I guess the only question then remains. I'm not really considering Brennan Austin a candidate to be a starter, much less of
He's
anything.
our Scott Carlson.
He's 27. He's English, and
He's
that's
our Scott
helpful,
Carlson.
right? And that's helpful when you're in Europe. Spurs aren't even in Europe. If Brennan Austin wanted to move on, I would say perfect. I'm perfectly fine with that as well. The question comes down to whether or
That's a
not
fair
a
point.
23-year-old Antonin Kinski is going to be the starter for this
Mm-hmm.
team, or
Mm-hmm.
if Vicario is indeed leaving, are they bringing in someone to either back up Kinski or start over Kinski? Like, that is, I think that's the biggest question. What would your answer to that be?
I don't know that we know yet. And I mean, I know that that's a little scary, I guess, for lack of a better term.
What would you
But
do
I
though?
think
Like what would you want
I'll,
to do ideally?
I'll happily explain it to you. First thing that I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out whether I can get a better deal on Van Bergen from Brighton, who played under De Zerbi, or Trafford from Manchester City. Now, we're doing business with both of those clubs, and there's a high likelihood that we go back to both of those clubs for other players in the window. So, depending on whether we can get a swoop deal, which I don't know that we can, I would love to bring in a Bergen or a Trafford and then have them compete with Anthony Kinski. I'm going to draw your attention to a time long, long ago where we signed a young French goalkeeper from Lyon, and we had him compete against an incredible, I'm talking a world class shot stopper in a gentleman named Aurelio Gomez. Now, Aurelio Gomez uh, might, I don't know this for sure, I don't know where he was, but he might be Guglielmo Vicario's father, because the way that they play football is so gosh darn similar. They're incredible shot stoppers when they don't have to think about it, but they absolutely have a fucking wobble every single match. And you wonder, how the heck does this guy have a job in professional football? At least once a match. What people don't understand is that when Hugo first got here, he didn't start. He
Right.
sat, and then he platooned, and then ultimately he won the job. Anthony Kinski is 23 years old. He was drafted into duty for a club that was beaten and broken and had the worst nightmare a professional goalkeeper can have. And then bounce back from that to put in a showing that literally kept us in the Premier League. Guillermo Vicario does not do that. He doesn't do what Kinski did. He just doesn't.
I
The
don't
last
disagree.
4 games, he doesn't do what Kinski did. So for that alone, I look at this and I go, nothing's promised in this position. You know that as well as I do. You're number one until there's somebody, until what's the line from Starship Troopers? You're it until you die, until I find somebody better. And
Well,
that's essentially what we're looking at.
and that's kind of my overriding feeling is I'm not. Everyone knows my feelings on Vicario. Like, if he departs, I'm going to be waving goodbye. Like, I never thought he was the dude, but I also don't feel that there's no way, shape, or form that I feel confident in just handing the position over to Kinski. So if you're telling me it has to still be earned, I can get on board with that, and I agree with it. Like, but who's that competition coming from? That's my big question, and that would require yet another signing. That I'm just I question where and if that's coming. So The goalkeeper position, like I said, is an interesting one that I think it all hinges on whether or not they do actually depart with Vicario, which we all kind of think is going to happen. But again, until I see it, you know, I think we're all on board with it. But until I see it, we can't really comment on whether or not it will happen. Let's talk center
Well,
backs. Go ahead.
the one thing that I wanted to say is don't we still have like fucking Josh Keeley on the books? We
Not
do have Josh
some.
Keeley on the books.
We
He
do.
spent 40. He played 45 matches for Luton Town in over
Okay.
the course of the last year, and before that he was at Leighton Orient. Like guys, 23. We're gonna have him in camp. Shout out to my Irish goalkeeper. I think he's got a decent look at getting on somewhere. I think that this is probably the year where, I mean, he's club trained. So technically, if he's better than Brandon Austin and we can get some money for Brandon Austin, like we'll take Josh Keeley and deuces.
Yeah, brother. I don't think Josh Keeley's on our team anymore. I'm pretty sure he
Oh, did we
went
sell him
away.
to Luton Town?
Yeah, he was
We
sold.
did sell him to
He
Luton
was
Town.
sold
Dude,
last.
who's the other?
That's why I didn't have him on my
Who's
list because I don't
no?
think I
You're
missed
good.
anyone.
Who's the other keeper that we have in the? I'm sorry, we probably cut that. Who's the
You're
other
good,
keeper
man.
Who's the other keeper that we have in the system? Like, I know that there's
Well,
one more keeper that's like a stud that we're
here's the
bringing
thing.
through. Well, no. You brought up the Brandon Austin thing and it got me thinking.
But
Because you're
Brandon Austin
absolutely
was
right.
actually in the squad, and he's
No.
27.
Well, you got me thinking about it going, who's going to compete with Kinski? And I'm going, well, Brandon Austin's not the guy. We all know that Brandon Austin's not the guy. But if we got this kid coming up, and I can't I thought it was Keeley, and I'm wrong.
I'm not
But
interested in anyone younger than Kinski coming in and competing with Kinski, though.
Well,
I'm
dude,
talking
he's
about
23,
someone.
bro. He's 23. We
I know
can't
that.
we can't act like he's a spring chicken anymore. I'm just over here saying like there's guys that are, there's like 21, 22-year-old guys that have the opportunity to come in here and compete. And I can't pull the name right now.
Not to be the starting goalkeeper. They don't. No, they do absolutely not. There's not a 20 or 21-year-old in the academy that's jumping over Kinski. That's not happening. That's what I mean. It would be bringing someone in from the outside that's older. That's what I mean. Like if it's someone else that's coming in, if it's a veteran coming in,
No, because I think that's going to happen anyway. I'm just saying,
a Joe
like,
Hart,
I'm
Fraser
curious.
Forster type. Like I'm fine with that if that's the
Gunter, gosh
competition.
darn it, I freaking knew it. It's Luka Gunter, and he's 21, and he's a badass, and it's just a matter of time. Please forgive me, listeners, to this fair podcast. It is not Josh Keeley. It is Luka Gunter.
Fair enough. I'm still not prepared to put Luka Gunter into a backup role, let alone a starting role.
I
the
think that
Premier League squad.
I don't disagree with that, but I think if you want to move a Luka Gunter or a Brandon Austin on and bring in a Luka Gunter and have him play in like your early round of your Carabao Cup matches, things along those lines, I'm totally good with it. So, and he is,
and I'm completely not good with it. That's not going to work for me or anyone. That's not how it goes. Let's talk center backs because we're already spending way too much time on 3 goalkeepers. We've already talked a little bit about Radu Dragusin, out of contract, out of mind. Ben Davies also out of contract, but perhaps getting a 1-year extension, which I think I'm good with just to have a veteran presence around. Like everyone knows we love Ben Davies. I don't want him.
Ben Davies.
I don't want him on the pitch, but I'm fine if he's around. That's fine.
Now you finally admitted that. I'm okay.
Let's go through some younger names here first. Junai Byfield, who's only 17 and is still on a youth contract, but is this I take it this is just a loan? I mean, he saw a little bit of time on the pitch last season, but I want to get him out playing regular football, right?
Junai Byfield is one of, if not the best center back prospect in England, let alone in the Tottenham Hotspur Academy. What I would say is that he absolutely needs to play a full season of men's football next year. I don't hate the idea of sending him to the continent, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up in the championship, similar to like somebody else we're going to come on to, like an Ashley Phillips.
That was the next name on the list. Ashley Phillips is 20 years old, signed through 2028. He will be 21 by the time the season starts. He is English as well. Loan?
Yeah, I want to say he captained Stoke City a couple of times in the championship last year. Like Ashley Phillips is a quality player, and at 20 years old, I think that he is the type of guy that you're not going to hear about next year. We'll probably, I think this would be a great time to either, if he wants to go back to Stoke, he can go back to Stoke. or if he wants to, you know, kind of expand his horizons. I'd love to see him in like Scotland.
Okay.
Um, but I think one more season on loan before I make a decision on him. He's only
The
20, bro.
the next name on the list is Kota Takai, another player that we just have not really seen enough of to know much about. But 21 is signed through 2030. He did not really get a lot of playing time even on loan because of injuries and other circumstances.
And he was shit.
This just feels like another loan situation to me. Like try
Well,
and
yeah, it's 100% another loan.
try and recoup value.
It's 100% another loan situation this season. He didn't get a lot of playing time, and the playing time that he got, he was very shit.
All right.
I send him back to Germany to a lower division Bundesliga team where he can play every game.
I think the easy ones on this list are Kevin Danso and Mickey Van de Ven that are keep.
Save. Keep.
And then the complicated ones become Christian Romero and Luka Vuskovic, who I think we all know that Luka Vuskovic is going to be with the team for the start of the season. It's whether or not he's there, or excuse me, for the preseason. It's whether or not he's there for the start of the season. And again, with all of these signings that we've already talked about, Senesi and a possibility for Van Heck, and also with the rumors about Romero possibly departing, I think a lot of that's still dependent on what that room looks like. But where do you take these two players? I mean, obviously, I don't think think Romero is back, right? We're done there. We're ready to sell.
Yes, but not because he's a bad player, because I don't like him. I feel like he needs to get out of England.
It feels like it's run its course.
Well, it's run its course at Spurs, but I feel like he needs to get out of England for his career.
Interesting. I could see him going elsewhere in England. It wouldn't shock me.
There's rumors that Manchester United want him and whatever, which would be, I mean, it'd be great to hear Gary Neville flip on his opinion as soon as he goes there. Oh, he's so much calmer, so much more level-headed. Shut up, Gary Neville. But what I think personally is that I don't care what uniform you put him in. Michael Oliver and the boys are always going to view him as a reckless Latin player.
Yeah.
And I feel like once you get that label in England, it's really hard to shake. And so I definitely think that and I don't want to fucking play that guy twice a year. So I definitely want him to go to the continent.
Go to Spain. The easiest, I think, position to discuss on this roster is go ahead.
Oh, you asked me about Luka Vuskovic as well, so I kind of wanted to touch base on that.
Yeah, Vuskovic. Do you feel differently?
I have a point here.
Okay.
He's 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And his birthday's in February. So the last time that we saw him, he was just turned 18 in Tottenham Hotspur camp. The difference between who you are as a player as an 18-year-old and who you are as a player as a 19-year-old is oftentimes night and day. Who we saw in the preseason last year is arguably not going to be the player that we see in the preseason this year. He could come in and his hips could be smart all of a sudden. And he could come in and all of a sudden he's tracking back in ways that we didn't know he was able to track back. And if that's the case, then I have no problem keeping him around. But my thing is that I think from a development standpoint, he's 1 year away from being a viable Premier League option.
I tend to agree, and that's why I think that the club is making the effort to fill the center back room a little bit more with some more depth to give him a little bit more time. I completely agree. Loan him somewhere again and let him do it again. Let him do what he just did in Germany. Let him do it again somewhere as well.
Yeah, let him do it in Italy.
Sure.
Do it in Spain. Show me that you can do it. Do it in France. Shit, I'll send you to France. Go have fun doing that.
The fullback position, I think, is almost the most easy to talk about with this team. It's the most settled. Obviously, Andy Robertson comes in on the left side. There's Destiny Udogie, and then there's Jed Spence and Pedro Porro on the right side. Obviously, Spence can play on either side. I think the one player to really talk. I mean, first of all, are any of these players? Are you ready to get rid of any of them?
Absolutely not. All of them are critical. Wait, because we just got over Andy Robertson, and I think Destiny Udogie's best days in the Tottenham shirt are ahead of him.
Yeah.
Jed Spence just delivered a beautiful assist to Harry Kane in an England warm-up for the World Cup, and Pedro Porro was arguably our best back last year.
I know there's
I don't think that you get rid of it.
I know there's a lot of rumors about Porro possibly departing. If that happens, I do think the club will need to sign another right back because I don't think Jed Spence will be the full-time, all-the-time right back. But I
Agreed.
also don't think they're going to sell Pedro Porro.
They're not
So
going to sell Pedro
I
Porro.
don't think that's a reason to fret. The only other player on this list is a 19-year-old in Souza, who obviously came in January, got a little bit of playing time. For me, I want him loaned out somewhere where he can develop his game. He's promising, but I don't need him in the squad. I have the four fullbacks that I need for going into the season already locked down, and I feel
Mhm.
like he's surplus to requirements at this point and needs to be loaned out for some development. Disagree?
I'd love to be able to send him to a newly promoted Premier League side that
That would be
loses,
great.
yeah, that loses their left back to a better team as they come, like a Middlesbrough. Like, go play left back at Middlesbrough for a season and let us know how it goes.
Let's dive into some midfielders, and I've kind of bunched them all together here as just one conglomerate. We're not going to talk offensive midfielders, defensive midfielders, whatever else, but I just want to group them in this way. First of all, the out of contract guys, Yves Basuma by João Palhinha. Who knows? We talked a lot about him last week already, but like I just don't know. Are they bring like De Zerbi wants him back, but there's rumors that he might be going elsewhere. That's one that it's like a wait and see. And we've already talked about him, I think, enough. There's some young players on this list that I just want to touch on as well. We did talk last week as well about Alfie Devine, whose permanent clause was triggered by Preston North End. We'll see if that ends up coming to fruition. He ends up moving on. It sounds like that may happen, which I think would be a shame, but also I think it's good for him. I think it's a good move for him to go get the regular football that he so deserves. He's 21 now. Kick on, my friend. The other player in this list that's a young player is Callum Olasesi. And I think it would be a great time to loan a player like that and see if you can't get some valuation improvement there and some development at the same time.
I don't disagree with you. I think the Alfie Devine one makes me sad. I really wanted more
Sure.
for him in a Spurs kit, but I agree. I think regular football. I had, and this is a name that some Spurs fans will remember, but I also had a similar affinity for Alex Pritchard, who moved on and had a great career in the championship, and had a cup of tea in the Premier League for a few seasons, but it's a similar profile.
Uh,
I
uh,
will always remember Alfie Devine for the under 21s game, or it may have been a cup game, where he came in and just cleared out some Chelsea guy in like his first match, just to let you know it was up. Loved that. Um, Callum Molasesi, that's a proper prospect for us.
yeah.
He needs man minutes. So I don't know where you want to send him, but give him some man minutes.
I totally agree. The next three players I'm going to name for you are, I think, all in the keep category purely because of the injury things. That would
Oh,
be
I got one more
Javi's.
thing to say before we move on. I'm so very, very sorry.
No, go ahead.
I keep João Palhinha.
And again, I think I said the same thing last week. I'm fine with him sticking around. I just don't.
We're not
He's
going to
not.
find a midfielder of his ilk for 25 million pounds. Period.
If De Zerbi wants him, fine. That's kind of the way
Deal.
I feel about it. He wouldn't
Shake
be
on.
my first choice to stick in the middle of that midfield because I think there are better profiles for De Zerbi ball, but De Zerbi seems to want him. So if that's the case,
Well,
I'm on board with it.
it's one of those things where like I'm going to use a baseball analogy again, right? Like there's some guys that you only put in the lineup when there's a lefty on the mound because they
Right.
hit the shit out of left-handed pitching.
Yep.
And I feel like there are certain games that are João Palhinha games and certain games that are very much not João Palhinha games. However, I feel as though there are more games that turn into situations that would benefit from a João Palhinha entrance. And I think that that's why he's such a valuable piece to keep around.
The three injured players, Xavi
Yes.
Simons, Dejan Kulusevski, and obviously we saw James Madison at the end of the season, but still coming back fully from the ACL. All three are to me, are obvious keeps and, get healthy. I don't know when
Yeah.
we'll see Xavi again. If it's not, it probably won't be before the end of the calendar year, and
No.
if we see Kulusevski again, hopefully it's soon. Obviously
I saw him
Madison
play
is
basketball
back.
the other day, but
I
I
did
don't
see
think
that
it was as
too.
much of a flex as he thought it was.
I did see that too. let's get into some of these more complicated midfielder decisions here. And I do say decisions. I don't think there's a decision to make on Conor Gallagher. He was just brought in, and I think he is a decent fit for what this team wants to do. So he's a keep to me, a
The
quite
only
obvious
decision
keep.
I have on Conor Gallagher is which kit I'm going to get his name and number on the back of next year.
Noted. And then the next one would be Rodrigo Bentancur. Obviously, is signed through 2029. Just signed that extension. He's 28 now.
Yeah.
And he's been a stalwart. This is the type of player that if there was a deal for him out there that was decent enough money, I would be fine selling Rodrigo Bentancur. But because I don't think that is out there, I think he's just a keep. I would almost be.
I look at this totally different.
Okay.
He's the first player that De Zerbi injected into the squad in order to make an immediate difference in the way that we play. So what that says to me is that he's an integral part of what De Zerbi's midfield is going to look like going forward. I absolutely keep it.
Okay. I think he's the type of player that I would be looking to try to get off the books if I could, but I don't.
You just signed him to a new deal. That doesn't make sense.
I didn't personally. The team
no,
did.
but okay, the team did. Yes,
I'm saying if I were running things, I would be trying to actively move him.
So
but
for clarity, what I hear you saying is that a player that you signed last year to a 5-year extension and gave him money, like a bunch of money, guaranteed, some of it guaranteed. And he was the first player that the new manager that you just gave the reins to integrated into the team in order to see immediate change. You're saying that you would look to move that player on.
We just got done talking about how little this team rotates and moves on. This is a player that has been here for long enough.
But
I am ready for that. I'm ready for that. No, we didn't he's been here for 6-7 years.
No. You're not. I'm sorry. Maybe I wasn't clear enough in saying that.
I know we just re-signed him. That's a value thing, though.
I'm zooming out from a. I disagree with that. I'm zooming out and looking at it from a business standpoint, and I'm saying we have a lot of equity in Rodrigo Bentancur right now, and so selling him after the season that he just had, despite the fact that it ended well, we would get negative. Like we would be negative in the equity department for Rodrigo Bentancur if we moved him on.
Which is why I'm only looking to sell and not forcing a sale. Because I agree. No, because I agree with you. I don't think his number is there, and I don't think there's teams that are going to actively be looking for him. If there was a deal to be made, I would make it.
What fair, and I hear you, but also I look at it and go, like we just got done saying if De Zerbi wants him, keep him. And I'm saying this is the first guy that De Zerbi showed us that he wanted.
3 other players on this list for us to go through. Archie Gray, who I want no parts of getting rid of. He's English, he's young, keep him around. But the other 2 are interesting to me because Lucas Bergvall and Pat Maté are here. Bergvall is only 20, Sarr is only 23. But I'm curious if they're going to be Sarr is the really interesting one to me. I think a deal could be found for Sarr, and I love Sarr. I think he can be a great player. I just don't know that it's going to happen at Spurs. And honestly, I could say a lot of the same things about Bergvall. I classify them. They're not the same player, but they play similar positions and have been similar in their trajectory at Spurs. And these are 2 players where it's a crowded midfield already, and I think they do interesting things, but in a similar way, but not because of their age, but in a similar way to Bentancur, I would be looking to see if there is a deal out there where I can recoup. If it's not there, they're going to stick around. They're obviously not candidates for loans in my mind, but
I disagree.
Okay.
I would loan Lucas Bergvall. I would loan him to a top 3rd German team. Give me like a Bayer Leverkusen loan for Lucas Bergvall. Let him get over there. Let him play 30 plus games as a starter and see who he comes back as. Because I feel like his profile has changed like 3 or 4 times since he's been at Tottenham.
That's probably fair.
I don't really know who he is as a player. And
Does
so I'm
he
going to
know
loan
who he
that
is
guy.
as a player? Yeah.
I don't know that he's able to know who he is as a player because he's had 4 or 5 different managers since he's been here.
Yeah,
So from the time that he's 17 until the time that he's 20, he's learned 3 different systems. Like I don't know, dude. I
it's
just look at it
not
and I
great.
go, it's hard for me to say that the best idea is to keep him in this midfield mix with De Zerbi.
That's kind of how I feel. I feel like
So
if you can find a fit, find a fit.
I see, but for me, he's still too much of a commodity to move him on at 20.
I-
Now,
I'm I'm agreeing
Pop
with you on the loan
Matasar.
part. If you can loan him, sure.
Now
If you can sell
here's
him,
I'm gonna
I think you entertain the idea at least.
I disagree, and only because of the age to value proposition. And I'm gonna prove my point right here. Pop Matasar has been playing top flight men's football since he was 17 years old. He played so many minutes, not last season, but the season before when we won the cup, that like his legs were run ragged. He also had significant personal turmoil over the course of the last 12 months that really kind of derailed him. He is a very emotional dude, and his emotional North Star in professional football left him at the
Yeah.
end of last summer in Sun Hyung Min. And so Pop's had kind of a wayward season. I look at this situation and I go, unfortunately, I think that as a 23-year-old, now is the time where he needs to spend the next 5 years playing everyday football. And I don't think he's going to get that opportunity at Tottenham Hotspur. So I look at selling him to, I think he would absolutely wreck the Spanish league. I'd love to sell him to like Atletico Bilbao and watch him be the key to their central midfield for the next decade.
Let's talk attackers before we wrap it up here. Randall
Sell them
Colomawani
all.
is the obvious easy one. He's out of contract and is looking
Well,
to
he's
go back to
alone. He's gone
Juventus.
back to PSG anyway.
Yes, and is probably going to end up at back at Juventus. Have fun, my friend. The other two easy ones for me are Mohamed Kudus and Wilson Odegaard, both injured. Both will be recovering from those injuries. The Mohamed Kudus one is weird, by the way. If you remember back, he was supposed to return after the March international break and had a setback. And then we just haven't seen him since or
Well, he
heard
got
from him
surgery.
since. Yeah.
What happened
And
was he tried to rehab it back and then hurt it worse and tried to get a second opinion and ultimately decided to get the surgery.
yeah. So we'll see on him. We mentioned Alejo Veliz earlier. It apparently is reportedly leaving. So there's one other player off the books. A couple of other younger players here I want to mention. Will Lankshire and Dane Scarlett, 21 and 22 respectively.
Dude, that's crazy that Dane Scarlett's only 22 years old. I feel like that guy's like 37. That's
Well,
wild.
and Dane Scarlett's actually one that I think it is time to. The phrase that I would use is shit or get off the pot.
Mm-mm.
Because his contract, the reason I say that is because his contract is up after next season. So you either need to re-sign him, you need to sell him, you need to do something with Dane Scarlett
Yes,
this
I
summer.
agree.
What that
I
something
agree.
is, I don't know. Is he ready to come in and be in a
No,
reserve striker role for this squad,
no,
or does he
no.
need to move on?
He needs to move on. He needs
Okay,
to move on.
that's
And
kind of where I'm at as well.
there's nothing wrong with that. I think what Dane needs to do is he needs to go to a club where he's going to be able to be the guy
Mhm.
every single week. So give me a mid-tier Scottish club, like an Aberdeen. They're not mid-tier; they're upper table. But right, give me like an Aberdeen for that guy. Right, give me a Hearts for that guy. Right, and go be the guy for 5 years.
Where are you with Will Lankshire? Because he's another one
He's
that
the
I
future,
feel. Okay.
and he's the future. I
Is he a
call
loan
when
for you,
he.
or is he staying in the squad?
It depends on what. Okay, what De Zerbi wants out of his striker is a guy that has great hold-up play and then turns around and busts his ass into the box and has great timing getting on the end of things. Our issue is Richarlison does a great job getting in the box, but has the worst touch in the history of top flight football.
Yeah.
And Solanke does a great job of holding the play up, but can't find his way into the box.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is that I think Will Lankshire has the ability to grow into, ready for this name? Um, Evan Ferguson of Brighton. I think I want to say Irish. Um, I think he had 19 or 21 goals in De Zerbi's last season at Brighton. Like, and it's that guy that does a great job holding the play up and getting in the box and getting on the end of stuff. Sign Savino and give me some Will Lancashire. I'm not mad. I know. Is he
So he's
enough?
staying in the squad for you then?
He's 100% staying in the squad, but that's because I want to sell Richarlison. I know that's
Okay.
where we're going next.
Lancashire's a loan. No, it's not where we're going next. You're once again you're jumping
Oh,
the gun. Lancashire is not ready for me. Loan him, or if you can sell him, I'm good on that. No, thank
how
you.
do you know?
I don't know. He hasn't made any
He was
impact, so
player
I
of the
don't
season
know.
at Oxford last year in the championship. He
Okay.
balled the fuck out. He had the goal of the season for them as well. He's put on about 20 pounds of muscle
Is he
between
ready
the
to
last
make an
time we saw him
impact
and
on the
now.
Tottenham Hotspur squad next year?
He already scored for Tottenham Hotspur the year before last. Now, did he get a red card
That
10
wasn't
minutes
my
later? Of course he
question.
did.
That
But
wasn't
that's
my
not the
question.
question. Is he ready
ready to
now?
make? Is he ready to make an impact on the Tottenham Hotspur squad this coming season?
Mark my words, the answer is yes.
Okay, that's your answer, and you're sticking to it. There's a couple other easy ones here for me.
Oh,
Manor
okay.
Solomon is an easy
I
Sia.
forgot he was on the books. Get lost.
He is on the books. 26
Dude,
years old
his
is.
agent said that he wants to come back to Spurs.
I know that, and that's a problem for me. Not only
Me
because I
too.
don't think Manor Solomon is very good, but I don't think he's a very good person either. Youngmin Hyuk is another name that we need to bring up here as well, who we forgot about
20? Is
because
he
20
20?
years old, yeah, and is signed through 2030. Like, this is a player that's on the books. I would be fine moving along there as well.
Why? Why?
Because you need to move on from some of these guys. That's
Dude,
why.
you were the type of person that would have moved Harry Kane on after his Leighton Orient move. And what I'm saying is that
Are you
Youngman,
telling me
you
that Youngmin
can't.
Hook is Harry Kane? Is that what you're saying?
I'm telling you that Youngman Hyuk is 20 years old and a very slight Korean gentleman and needs to grow into his man body. And when he grows into his man body, he's going to be a monster.
Okay.
The talent is there, the ability is there. He spent the last 2 years in England getting his ass kicked. And I think that he needs one more year to really sort it out. So
Okay.
I'm going to loan him and then I'm going to take a look at it.
I'm fine with loaning Youngmin Hook again, by the way. But if you can sell him, I'd sell him. If there's a deal out there to be had, I'm looking at it. There's 3 more players on the list that we need to go over, and I think these are the 3 kind of toughest ones to discuss. You
Okay.
brought the two. You brought the 2 strikers up, Richarlison and Solanke. The other player that we have not mentioned is Matisse Tell, and I personally, I know that there's Savino out there, and I know that there's other options. I think Matisse Tell is in the squad and making a big impact, especially because of the fact that we don't know what we're getting coming back from injury with Wilson Odobert, Mohamed Kudus. The same can be said for Dejan Kulusevski, James Madison, Xavi Simons, and the like. In terms
My
of
problem is that we don't
attackers.
know. I don't know what we're getting from Matisse Tell.
Oh, I don't. I disagree. I think Matisse Tell showed a lot, especially down the stretch under Roberto De Zerbi, that tells me that there's still a lot of refinement that needs to be done to his game for sure. But I do think that he grew a lot in the last season and learned a lot more about how to play in the Premier League than he previously thought.
What about his 4 goals and 1 assist over 36 league matches led you to believe that?
Again, I'm going to emphasize what I saw under Roberto De Zerbi, which would only be about 6 or 7 matches. And what I saw was him starting to figure it out and figuring out when he can cook and when he should let someone else cook. Now, the letting someone else cook part needs a little bit of work because he needs to learn how to hit a good pass. He's done it a couple times and he's found the head of some guys, but the other problem is that there's not a lot of guys in the middle. When he's playing out wide, we need better guys in the middle for him to connect with, and that leads us
And
to
so
Richarlison and Solanke.
we're not there yet, as far as I'm concerned. And the reason why is because I think Matthias Tell, at 21 years old and over 6 feet, probably profiles, I think right at 6 feet, probably profiles best as a number 9, not in the Premier League. And I think the more that we try to make him a number 7, a left winger in the Premier League, the more we're going to stunt his growth and ultimately decrease his value.
So you
Now,
want to sell him?
I no, no. I want to keep him, but I want to make him comfortable being a reserve. When Roberto goes to a 2 or has like that little shadow striker situation. I want him to be comfortable operating in the half spaces, which is where you receive the ball at that top left corner of the box and find the corner. But my issue with him is that when you ask him to get to the byline, he has no cross, and that's tough. That's not going to change. You either have that cross or you don't.
No, I think that can change. I think you can train a
So
player to hit better passes. I do.
what I hear you saying right now,
And I think the biggest
that,
thing is that I hampered on a lot is decision making. Like that's something that can improve as well, I believe.
and the reason why I say that you either have that or you don't is because instinctively, Matthias Tell is a striker. And so when he gets into those decision making opportunities, his first inclination is to shoot. Now, can
I don't
he
think
get
that's a
better
bad
at
first
crossing?
inclination to have, actually.
When you're shooting at a tight angle from the left wing, yeah, it's a bad inclination. I need you to be ready to give that ball up. Now, if you're a striker, it's a great inclination, which is what he spent his entire life being until he got to England and realized that he would get his ass kicked by Virgil van Dijk or someone of the like every single week when he tries to play that role and he shrinks. So we put him out on the left wing because he's fast and because his hold up play is good and his overlap play is good. But ultimately, his decision making in the box is subpar. And because of that, I can't depend on that guy to be a major part of what we're doing in the Premier League next year. I can't.
I'm on the opposite end. I think he's going to continue to grow, and
I
I
hope
think
you're
he
right.
can. I think he can continue to expand his
Well,
repertoire either on the wing. I agree with you on the striker part. I don't think he's
so
set
talk
up
to me
to
about
be.
that.
Well, I don't think he's set up to be a Premier League striker without gaining like 30 pounds of muscle.
So if he's not set up to be a Premier League striker, yet his playing ability and his profile align with being a striker, what do you suggest that we do? And the answer of, well, we just stick him out on the left wing and train him to get better doesn't really hit for me.
I
Because I don't need to train people on the
I
left wing and get better. I need a
I just
Savinho who's going to provide me 10 assists a season from that role.
I disagree with the premise of your question because I think that he's not set up to be a striker in the Premier League because of his body type. I don't think that you need to force that square peg into that round hole. I think
But
you need
he's
to
been
play
that
him.
guy his entire life. He was a striker at Bayern Munich before he got here.
And when Harry Kane got there, he got pushed out to the left wing.
Well, yes. And then he got pushed to Tottenham Hotspur because he couldn't play the left wing, Andrew.
I think he's growing and developing, and I think we can see. I think there's another level for him to jump, and I'm excited to see it happen in
I hope
Lily
you're
White.
right.
Richarlison and Solanke. Here's what I'm going to say about these guys. I said this last week. I think if you combined the two of their skill sets, there's a really good striker in there. Genetic manipulation has not advanced to the point where I can do that at this point. Richarlison is 29. Solanke is 28. I am fine with selling either and or both of these players this summer. Get them out if possible. I don't know that the market is going to be there for that. So I do think you can get rid of one. I don't know that you'll be able to do it for both. I agree with everything you've said about this team needs to bring in a dude, a striker of a dude, a number 9, a dude. And I do think that comes at the expense of one of these guys. If you made me choose, I think I would actually sell Dominic Solanke before I would sell Richarlison.
Dang it. And so here's my thing. I can't believe I'm about to say these words to you. Given who our manager is and the direction that the team is going, I think I agree with you. Now, I'm going to retract that statement and say this. If you made me choose, I would probably go with selling Solanke for the project. If you made the business manager and me choose, I'm selling Richarlison all day, every day, because we've already extracted all the value from him that we can. And we could still sell him on for a premium as he was our top scorer. And there are clubs in Saudi that would pay handsomely for him to this day.
And
now,
the other big factor in that is that his contract is up after the season. So that's the other.
there's an
Yes.
incentive. Now, I think there's an option on the end of that for us. If we wanted to pick it up, we could. So technically, we could pick it up and then still have 2 years of control and then sell them at a premium if we wanted to. But my biggest issue is that we paid a shit ton of money for Dominic Solanke, and we have not recouped that investment. And we are not in a position just because he's not been healthy.
Yeah.
And so it's also really hard for me to look at Dominic Solanke and go, like, you're not good enough.
It is a little
Because,
weird, right? It's almost like you see
right.
him and you're like, why isn't this working
Well,
better?
he was the perfect and striker, and we talked about it ad nauseum about how, like, the majority of his goals when he was at Bournemouth come within inside the 6 yard box, and like he's a great holder. Does a great job of holding up the ball and then getting on the end of things. And so, like a healthy Dominic Solanke in a Roberto De Zerbi system with time to prepare, I think he probably leads the line out the gate unless you sign a guy. And like, but
They
that's the other thing is that like I'm
they
super
got to sign a
frustrated with
guy
this.
though. That's the thing. They
Well,
got to
I'm
sign a
super
guy.
frustrated with this. Dude, Solanke cost $65 million. He's technically our record signing. So you can't look at him and go, he's not a guy. I mean, we paid him like he was a guy. He's just not the guy.
We've paid a lot of guys that we thought were the guy, though. I mean, Tungia and Dombele
No,
with like a word.
we paid a lot of guys we hoped would be the guy. We did not pay a lot of guys that were the guy already.
Here's the other problem, though. If you're a big club, you got to be willing to.
You got to pay the guy.
Well, not only you got to pay the guy, you got to eat shit when you paid the guy, but he didn't turn out to be the guy.
Well, more than importantly than that, so we've talked about this ad nauseum as well, but I'm going to point it out. Dude, we buy dented cans at Tottenham Hotspur. We buy dented cans. We buy the James Madisons of the world when the Ryan Sharikis are out there. And the reason why is because we can get the James Madisons at a discounted rate because we know they're going to be injured. And so we incentive laden contract them, and we pay them a little less than they're worth on a weekly basis, and say make it up in your bonuses on the back end. I think that the letter that came out from the Lewises, if you believe them, which I don't, as far as I can throw them, but my hope is that they're actually put it on paper, so they're going to back it up. They have to change the wage structure, and if they're going to
Well, we've
change the
already
wage
seen
structure,
that start. We've seen the
it
startings
has,
of that.
but they're still paying guys that are on 8th and 9th place teams. We have to pay a guy. And
Yeah.
what I want, if we're talking about it, sell Richarlison and Solanke and give me Victor Osimhen and Will Langshear and let's fucking go. And then you can play Matthias Tell as the second striker. Come on.
Let us know what you think. Keep, loan, sell all these players. If you've got fierce opinions like we do about some of these guys, we want to hear about them. Hit us up at Tottenham Depot. Before we get out of here, TC, any this is our last podcast that we're going to record before the World Cup starts, the World Cup that is in fact being held not only in Canada and Mexico, but right here in our home country of the United States. Any big prevailing thoughts on this World Cup? I heard you mention earlier you think that the Orange of the Netherlands are going to get it done, which I think would be a pretty big deal. That would be a pretty big upset. They're not one of the clubs that would be favored to win this thing, even though they are one of the better clubs in the world. But just before we get out of here, your prevailing thoughts on the start of the World Cup later this week.
I'm not excited. And I'm not excited for 3 specific reasons. The first reason is the price gouging that has gone on from the minute that this World Cup was announced in the United States until now is fucking despicable.
Capitalism.
Yeah, exactly that. Number 2, the questionable practices of the American government in terms of their visa allocation. It's fucking terrible, and it makes me embarrassed.
Yeah. For those who missed it, today it was announced that a Somali referee is not going to be allowed to participate in his officiating duties because he was denied a visa.
He was the African referee of the year.
Yeah. Pretty shameful.
And then earlier in the week, the star striker for Iran was detained for 7 hours just because they wanted to know his mom's favorite recipe. I don't know what they were doing, brother. I look at this situation, and the third reason why I'm embarrassed and I'm sad about this is the fact that there are atrocities, human atrocities, happening all over the world as we speak. And too many of them are at the behest of folks making decisions about this World Cup. And it makes me sad to be an American when I thought that this was a moment I remember so vividly. I was one of those kids that was indoctrinated by the 94 World Cup, Andrew.
Yeah.
And to look at it now, 32 years on or whatever, going, this is the first opportunity that we've had to be on the world's footballing stage again, and we're a shambles. I would say to everyone out there, be safe. If you're planning on attending these matches, have an exit route. I don't trust security. I don't trust DHS to properly have this sorted out. From what I can see, the infrastructure of this event across the country is subpar and dangerous. Please be safe.
Yeah, it does not look fun. I echo many of those sentiments. I am not excited and not I don't even really have a rooting interest. I'm just going to hope that the players enjoy themselves and can play for their home countries and do so in a manner that they feel comfortable with. And I really really just hope that it all goes smoothly. Um, and
I
knowing
root
that
for 10 Tottenham Hotspur players to exit this tournament healthy.
and that's honestly in terms of where my footballing beliefs are, that is the most important thing to me for sure. That's going to do it for this episode of the Tottenham Depot. Be sure to check out our episodes on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Tottenham Depot. You can also leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice. You can follow Todd at TC_Kasho. You can follow me at Astetka. Most importantly, follow us at Tottenham Depot on the socials. We will talk to you in the near future when the news warrants. This has been the Tottenham Depot podcast. As always, come on, you Spurs.